Hello third graders, this is Mrs. Copeland and I'm a math teacher in Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools. I'm going to be helping you with third grade memory joggers. Let's take a look at week 8, day 4, problem D. Quantrell created an array using square tiles. His array had 48 squares. Which of the following could describe his array? A. 6 rows with 8 tiles each. B. 6 rows with 9 tiles each. C. 7 rows with 8 tiles each. Or D, 7 rows with 9 tiles each. We have a few things to remember. First, multiplication is adding or combining equal or same size groups. We have the number of groups times the group size, and that gives us the total. Division is sharing equally or subtracting equal or same size groups. When we divide, we begin with the total number and subtract equal groups, or share the total equally between the groups. So we could start with the total, divide by the number of groups, and that would give us the group size. That's what we call sharing equally. Or we could start with the total, divide by the group size, and that would give us the number of groups. That's subtracting equal groups. Multiplication and division are related, so we could record this a number of ways. We know that there's a total of 48 squares, so whether we're writing it as a multiplication problem or a division problem, we're going to record 48 as the total. Now in this case, we can't be sure about the rows or the number of tiles in each row until we find out more information. So we're going to have to test out each of these. We know there's either going to be 6 rows or 7 rows, and that each of the rows is either going to have 8 or 9 tiles in it. So we have to figure out which one of these is going to give us the total of 48. So let's use an array. And if I know that I need 48 total, and the array is going to have 6, let's just say for a moment that we knew that it was going to have 6 on one side, and we know it's either going to be 8 or 9. What if it was 8? Let's try to figure that out. So let's see if it was 8. Now, if you know 6 times 8, you can automatically say whether it was 48 or not. But if you're not quite sure, a good strategy would be to think about this in 2 parts. Not counting 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8, because that would be a lot. But instead, or at least until you had 6 8s, not adding 8 6 times. 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8. That would kind of take a while. So there's another shortcut you could do, because you know that 8 rows would be made up of 5 rows and 3 rows. You can break that into the number of rows. And 5 times 6 would be a lot easier to figure out. So you could count by 5s if you weren't sure what that was, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, to figure that out. But you may already know 6 times 5. And then we just have to figure out 6 times 3. So we know there's 30 in that section, and 6 times 3, 2 6s is 12, and another 6 is 18. Or again, you might already know that fact. So in the first 5 rows, there are 30 squares, and in the last 3 rows, there are 18 squares. So if we put those together, 30 and 10 is 40, and 8 more is 48. So when we had 6 rows and 8 columns, I kind of did that the opposite, but when we have 6 rows and 8 columns, there was 48. If I had added one more row of 8, so if I had made that 9, then I would have to add another group of 6 there. So 48 and another group of 6 would be 54. In order to make that 9, I'm going to show this by adding, I would have to add one more here. And if I were to add one more here, that would be a total of 9, and there would be another 6. So the 48 plus the 6 would be 54. So right now, we think the answer is this. But let's just go ahead and check the other 2, just to be sure. I'm still trying to get 48. But what if I had 7? Now again, what if I tried to figure that out with 8? And it's still easier to kind of think about that as 5 groups and then 3 more groups. Or 5 rows and then 3 more rows. So 7 times 5 would be 35. 7 times 3 is 21, and together 30 and 20 is 50, 5 and 1 is 6, so 7 times 8 would be 56. That's already too big. And 7 times 9 would just add one more row to that. another 7 if we were making that one more, and then that would be 63. So we know the correct answer is A, 6 rows with 8 tiles in each row. And we could fill in our equation now. 6 times 8 equals 48. 48 divided by 6 equals 8. Or 48 divided by 8 equals 6. Thank you, and if you have additional questions about this problem, please ask your classroom teacher.